So I done a video earlier about how the term spirit animal isn't really an indigenous thing, but due to linguistics and false affiliations with other cultures, it's been imposed on us, so everyone thinks that it's an indigenous thing when it really isn't. And I'd use the other example of linguistics, such as the word tribe, which also isn't really an indigenous term. So now the question I keep getting asked is, what do we refer to ourselves as when we're identifying ourselves with other indigenous people? You have to understand that so much is lost in translation between languages. That language tells a story. Not only a story about how we identify ourselves, but also the story of why the names we carry are here today. It is a record of what happened and in what sequence. For instance, I am a part of the Navajo people. The word Navajo is actually a Pueblo word that is pronounced Navajo, which means the farmers of the valley. But we refer to ourselves as the Dene, which means the people. You see, when the Spanish were coming up from the south of Mexico, going through the state of Arizona, the Apache and the Pueblo tribes were contacted first before we were. And they referred to the Navajo people as the Navajo. So the Spanish started calling us that, and then they shortened it to Navajo. See, through that linguistics, you can tell that which tribes they came up first. They came up from the south, so you can literally track on a map where they went according to what tribes were named in what sequence. But like I said, we never referred to ourselves as that name. And that when recognized tribes were being set up by the government, we didn't really have a voice as to what we wanted to be called. So though we don't refer to ourselves as the Navajo, traditionally, we do now because our government was set up against our will, and they called us the Navajo. You see the same thing when it comes to the Sioux tribe, which they don't refer to themselves as the Sioux at all either. It's derived from the French, who got it from the Ojibwe, who called them the Sioux, which means little snakes, because those two tribes were traditional enemies. And the Ojibwe were contacted before the Lakota, Nakota, and Dakota people, or what we know as the Sioux. So you might see it on flags and on seals, but again, that was kind of done against our will. So the best way to ask someone what tribe they are from is to ask them, what nation do you come from? Because at least the word nation suggests or implies that we are sovereign people, that we're different, that we're not all the same. There are over 500 federally recognized tribal nations in the United States alone. More if you consider state or unrecognized tribes. I was always taught from my parents to ask them, what nation do you come from? Out of respect.